I'm just in shock. You know, like, oh man, I don't know how I'm going to sit down and watch a ninja movie for the rest of my life.
Don't worry, you will never do it. I can't. I love, don't get me wrong, I love shuriken and all that, and they're wrong as well. I love ninja masks, but it's just wrong. However, what has happened is the truth of the ninja is actually much more complicated. So it puts people off. They think, oh, it's too difficult. But once you get a grasp of it, it's really quite impressive.
So this leads me to ask another question then. How good were the samurai in combat? I mean, were they good with swords and maybe not hand to hand? Or what was their fighting style like then? Because now...
Well, I would say hand-to-hand is definitely not one of their strong points. That is more of a misconception. I've said this a few times. Basically, everybody says samurai are the only ones that can wear two swords, samurai are the only ones with swords. That's not right. That is incorrect. That only came about in the last 30% of samurai time. For most of samurai time, anybody could wear a sword, whether you're samurai or not. And even after, when only samurai could wear two swords, the rest of the people could wear a short sword or at least a big dagger. So nobody was doing hand-to-hand combat. No one. Japanese hand-to-hand combat became very popular like after World War II and after sort of like the samurai had been abolished and people stopped carrying knives. Don't get me wrong, it's always existed, but it was a case of on a battlefield it'd be arrows first or slings, then spears, then it'd be down to swords, then daggers, and then punching each other in the face. To be honest, I have not really researched this well enough, but one thing I do know is that the Japanese were shocked that the Mongols were using explosives and that the Mongols were not fighting in a very ritualistic style, which is, you're looking at the 1300s here.
Right.
I think, if I remember rightly. And they were fighting a little bit of a different style. But I have heard, but I don't go that far back, to be honest. I tend to stick to the 1500s because that's when the ninja were.
Wow. So where did your fascination come from for ninjas? I mean, you've got like how many books out there now and all that, so...
Probably about 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. You know a lot about this subject.
I was brought up in the ninja boom, of course. I was born in 78, which means that I was like all the way through the 80s. Ninjas were massive. Karate Kid was out. Ninjas were massive. And I never didn't love them. One of my earliest memories was ninja. But then in about 2004, I went to Japan for the first time. And by about 2008, I'd realised everything we knew was a load of rubbish. It just wasn't true. And all the films were wrong, which obviously, it's just films.
Right, of course.
History was wrong of it. The books I was reading were wrong. And recently, Stephen Turnbull, do you know Stephen Turnbull, the professor? He's a professor at Leeds University.
Yeah.
He has just retracted his books and said they were wrong, and he's going to write a new book. So, we're definitely changing. It's definitely happening.
Wow. Just recently I was watching Daredevil and I was seeing all those ninja battles take place. Now it's not the same anymore. You see them running up the stairs with their hands on their swords, you know what I mean? And just...
Oh, yeah, the classic pose.
Yeah, and they're like,
Yeah. Actually, this is where you would get ninja battles, but what that would be is called... Shinobi Youchi or Shinobi Night Raid, if you will. And what you would do is get ninjas in chainmail, like black chainmail. They would have a white jacket on with a black jacket over the top, and then they would go in with spears and possibly white headbands. And what happens is they would infiltrate, and once they'd infiltrated, they would rip the black jackets off so all of them were in white, so they could identify each other through white headbands and white jackets. And then they'd just start battling everybody, and then they'd escape and all have an exit route. So you would get guys in black running around, but not quite how you imagine, but nearly there.
Kunoichi, are they real or not?
Kunoichi are real, but they're totally misunderstood. The kunoichi come only in one book, and it's called the Bansen Shukai, and the author is called Fujibayashi, and he is the only man who names them. And he says they are stupid, worthless bitches, right, who are ridiculously, useless. And all you have to do is get a pretty one, slap her about a bit, teach her a few codes and a few signals, and then put her into the enemy house and have a sleep with everyone.
Wow.
So all these women who go around saying, I'm a kunoichi, I'm like, you need to stop saying that. Because that's not good.
I had a sensei tell me that these women were really good at assassination and killing politicians and slicing their throats.
Rubbish.
Really? Oh, man. Wow.
Basically, that may have happened. Women may be assassins, but they've basically took kunoichi out of one manual, twisted it to make this feminine hero.
Are you into the stealth arts of every culture or just Japan?
Just Japan, really, because it just takes so much time. Of course, I'm interested. If somebody comes along, I found this. Like recently, the guy came along and talked about India with me, and there's loads of stuff from India. Stuff that's almost the same as ninjitsu. And usually is that excellent, sometimes even more complicated than the Chinese.
Wow.
So it may be that some of the stuff's gone from India to China to Korea to Japan. It may have gone through that route, across Asia.
Wow. So it just stands out more to you, right? The Japanese culture and the way.
I don't know what it is. I have no interest in Chinese history. Everybody keeps chatting. I'm just like, no, Japan.
Japan.
I vaguely have been through China once.
Well, you hang out in Japan a lot, right?
I've lived there for 5 years in total. But now recently I've just bought this house, so those long 6-month trips are at an end for a bit.
So with all these revelations and all this debunking going around, so what do people do now with their current ninja clubs or dojos?
Yeah, that is the $1 million question, isn't it? Probably give it up, but realistically, it depends. Let's just see, if we want to get down to the basics, it all started with a man called Takamatsu and the Bujinkan. Yep. The Bujinkan kicked this off. And then there was a million copycats from the Bujinkan. The problem is this ninja martial art was started, as I say, in the 50s, 60s. And even then, the other martial artists around them were saying, that's not right. Ninjas don't do that. And all the way from that point till now, everybody's been saying, that's not real. It's not everybody, some people. But there's only me who's been really vocal.
Is this in Japan? Is this story you're telling me, this isn't in Japan?
In Japan, people in the West, I think Carl Friday, the Koryu people who deal with Koryu said that's not Koryu. Fujita Seiko in Japan was like, that's not ninjitsu. It's just... So basically what it means is you've got an amalgamation of old samurai art, bujitsu and, swordsmanship, all this type of stuff. And they just put the word ninja on it to sell it. Okay. So these ninja clubs, what do? Is they need to take the word ninja out of it, put in the word, samurai martial arts or something, and then add real ninjitsu. So they only have to do two things. Is A, move it to just samurai combat, and then add real ninjitsu, and everything will be fine.
Really? That's gonna be.
But that is big for some people. That's too difficult.
Yeah.
So the ninja absolutely were abolished at the end of the samurai period in 1868. I've got documentation to show that even a real ninja was like, and we're retiring because it's just the end of this time. Then in World War II, they have a place called Nakano, which is their spy school, and we found the records for that school, and basically they were taught in 6 months, they were taught about 8 hours of ninjitsu. It just wasn't applied to it. You could apply ninjitsu to modern day, don't get me wrong, you can do, but the skills are so outdated now that, for example, if the ninja really existed today, he would be a computer IT expert. Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, he would be listening in, he'd be tapping people with listening microphones. He'd be James Bond, basically.
Yeah. And so anyone can be a ninja then? I mean, is that what you're saying? I mean, if I study anything that has to do with, covert, anything like that, stealth, I can be a ninja. I can call myself a...
No, actually, I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet about that. You get some people saying they're ninjas, and it's like saying I'm a Spartan. Really? Because you wear a breastplate, you're a Spartan? I don't think so, So basically, to be a ninja, you have to exist between the period 1300s up to 1880s, and you have to be employed by a regional warlord in Japan as a covert agent. If you are not any of them, then you're not a ninja.
Really?
But that doesn't mean you can't follow the ways of the ninja. You can't, we are modern people.
Yeah.
But, I got in a car once, I picked someone up, me and my friend, and they said, I practice ninjutsu all the time, and he was doing my head in. So I said to him, how many villages have you burnt down this last few weeks? And he's like, none. I'm like, well, you're not doing ninjutsu then, really, are you? Ninjutsu is highly illegal. Highly illegal.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, all
it's
these...
murder, rape, infiltration, killing, dog sacrifice.
I've been holding back on this question, and that's why you see my expression like this. I really have to ask you this. Here in the United States, we have a lot of well-known names, in the realm of ninjutsu, okay? Oh man, I don't want to say any names. But anyway, what do I make of those guys? I mean, here they are getting Hall of Fames at the at the martial arts events. You know, doing all their katas and and teaching people.
Yeah.
And you know, acting like they're part of a clan or club. And I don't want to say
Do you
anymore.
want to say the names? I don't mind. Say the names
Oh,
if you
great
like. If not,
Scots, you're gonna get me in trouble.
no. We can not do it.
I'm going to do it. Well, since we're recording this, don't get me in trouble, Anthony. This is why I've been holding back this whole entire interview, because I really wanted to ask you this. People like Ronald Duncan.
Yep.
You've heard of him? Of course, maybe?
Yeah, I know he is.
Okay. I think his son is now the new head of the whatever clan you want to call it. Frank Dukes.
Yeah.
You know, what do I make of those people? I mean, they have entire, like, ninja clubs in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, here in the States. I'm in trouble.
I've spoke to many of those people, to be honest, and I've come to a point in my life where basically I say this now. Those people as individuals may be really nice or may be really horrible. Each one has a different attitude. Some of them have been really nice, and some of them have been total idiots. Yeah, they've been horrible. But on the whole, and this is, I will say this to anyone, if they are dressed in black with a belt on, teaching a form of hand-to-hand combat where they say this is what the ninja arts are, it's wrong. Now, the problem is we can use the word fake or we can use the word claimant. I've tended to switch to the word claimant because fake is automatically negative.
Right.
But those people claim that they teach ninjitsu, not those people. Anybody who teaches or claims to teach ninjitsu as hand-to-hand combat skills passed down for generations is lying. That's outright. Or they have been deceived and they believe what they are saying. Yeah? So it's up to each individual. Like, in my opinion, I think one or two of them were deceived by maybe some Japanese people. And they were like, oh yeah, yeah, possibly. But because they so believe it so much, you're like, nobody's that ignorant. Nobody's that bad that they actually believe it that much, unless they're crazy.
But isn't it that anything that comes from Japan is legit? I mean, if the Japanese say it's ninjitsu, it's ninjitsu?
Absolute rubbish.
Elaborate on that.
I'll use the same one I say every time. Okay, how about this one? I'm a Knight Templar. Yep, the Knights Templar are abolished in the 1300s. It's been passed down for 700 years. I am English, and therefore I am part of the English Knights Templar. I've got no information. I've got no documentation. There is no historical evidence. Everything I've told you is absolutely against what the historians say, but believe me, because I'm English.
Wow.
Yeah, would you believe me? No. But because the Japanese, we have the Japanese spell. Wow, they're Japanese. They don't lie. They're like enlightened beings. I'll tell you what, I've lived in Japan for years, and they are not enlightened beings. They are some of the most bureaucratic, horrible, lying people you ever meet. Some of them, like, don't get me wrong, the Japanese people are very, very polite, but they're obedient to an extreme level, and their bureaucracy is beyond. And so, for example, I have actually spoke, I won't name names here because there's a professor and other people I've spoke to who I've said, you know, why don't you out these people? Why don't you say they're wrong? And he went, because in Japan we don't do that, that's impolite. We just assume that what they're doing is for fun and we just leave them to it.
Wow.
So a Japanese person will never tell you that the other person's fake until you get them in a bar and then you're having a drink and they go, yeah, totally fake, that isn't it? He's an idiot.
Wow.
Yeah. So don't believe the Japanese just because they're Japanese.
Yeah, just because they're Japanese. Wow. You just like, oh man, I don't know what to do with all this information. I was scared to talk to you today because of that. Because I have a big mouth myself, let me tell you something. I've gone into all sorts of nasty situations with the establishment here, the martial arts establishment. So, wow.
Like I've spoke to, I think I've spoke to Ronald Duncan's son. I think it was his son. He was really nice. I've spoke to Frank Dukes. He was really nice.
Right.
Frank Dukes was very much into conspiracy theories and governmental theories and all that, which I'm not really into. So, you know, that I didn't connect that way. But he was genuinely a nice guy. I've spoke to Stephen Hayes at length, and he's a nice guy. You know, they're all nice people, but he just... For example, Stephen Hayes is different from Frank Dukes because Frank Dukes is the person who has originated his story. So whether it's true or not, or whether you believe it, is up to you. Whereas Stephen Hayes has clearly got it from Hatsumi, who clearly got it from Takamatsu. You can track it to where it started. So that's the difference between those two.
So Stephen Hayes is a real ninja?
No, God, no. So that's what I mean. Like Takamatsu is lying, in my opinion.
Really?
No, facts say he's absolute lying. He's like just made it up. And then Hatsumi, of course, is then passing this off. It's a ridiculous backstory, Togaku Ryu. That's not to say everything they teach is bad. Maybe their martial arts is superb. I did their martial arts. Some of the ninjutsu is correct, but we know which manuals they got it from. The point is this idea that a Hantan Ninja combat system is just made up.
And I can't say, oh, well, you know, this is the Western world. We're American ninjas. We created that concept. I can't say that.
Oh, yeah, you can, totally, as long as you say to everyone, we created this concept, it started in this date, and it's nothing to do with actual ninjas, nothing. Then I'm happy, really happy. Very good, being crazy.
And would you train under me?
Pretty much, yeah. And then people go and charge people to be trained in ninjutsu. So I've termed what I do as historical ninjutsu. So everybody has now got it down that historical ninjutsu is from the manuals and it's what ninjas used to do. And I think they've started calling modern ninjutsu neo-ninjutsu.
Neo-ninjutsu.
New wave ninjutsu.
Is that allowed, in your opinion? Is that something that you can consider legit?
There isn't legitimate, but there's no harm in it as long as everybody... Basically, there's no harm as long as people are truthful. If they said... A lot of people now are using this as a scapegoat. So when you say, what do these clubs do? I've had clubs come to me and say, is it okay if we say we're using the idea of ninjutsu into combat? I'm saying, yeah, that's all right, but why? Why don't you just use samurai combat and then real ninjutsu?
Right.
What's the point in associating yourself with a historical figure and doing the opposite of what they did?
Right.
What's the point? So basically, all the questions you're asking are down to ego. So I was the same person. I was studying in the Bujinkan. I went to Japan. I looked at it. I was like, this is not real. This is not real ninjutsu. Let me go discover it. It took me about 4 years to get it sorted. And I just said to myself, no, okay, that's not right. Let's move. So it doesn't mean the martial arts I did was useless or whatever. It just means I have to change the way I look at things, which is not a hard step. It's only you who stops you doing that.
Right. But there's so many people that are into fantasy, and they love to embellish it. You know what I mean? It's going to be hard.
Yeah. That's okay as long as they understand it's fantasy. Like I had one guy come to me and say, Anthony, I know it's all fake, but I love the image, so I'm just going to run with it, and I'm going to tell everyone it's just a movie image. Well, no problem, crack on. But don't go around telling everyone you're from an 800-year-old school and you're passing on traditions, because it's actually messing up actual history. So I have seen, when I did research on Kuji, those magic ninja hands, I seen people quoting Hatsumi as the last ninja, and that was in an academic library, in an academic journal. And you're like, whoa, now we've gone too far. We're twisting Japanese history.
Right.
And even in pop, like I've done 6 documentaries, and I was not in control. The producer and director were in control, and they were still wrong. Even with me in it, they were like, no, Anthony, we need to put this ninja image in, and we need to... You're actually, people are watching the History Channel thinking that's right, and I'm like, and I'm on it, supporting it. I'm like, no, it's wrong. You started it wrong. But of course, they edit it and make it how they want. Yeah, is it okay to do? I would say no, because why destroy real history?
Right. I would imagine Hollywood is like so terrified of you, man.
Well, my counterpart, Stephen Turnbull, the professor in England, who I now have a good relationship with. At the beginning, we had a very not good relationship. Now we chat and talk. And he got hired for the 47 Ronin film with Keanu Reeves. So, no, Hollywood has not touched me yet. Documentaries have, but no one from a film yet.
Wow. And, I want to tell you before I let you go that I've had a great time, I'm a kid again, and I've been so tongue-tied just listening to all this. I'm in shock.
Well, that's the message I want to put across. The problem is we have to go through a 2 or 3 step system. Like I've come along and said, do you know everything that you thought about ninjas and all your dreams? So that's a load of bullshit. It's rubbish. Get rid of it. And then everybody's like, doesn't want to go past that. Like, oh, I'm in shock. But actually, get past it and then read the real manuals. We've produced them and published them because we want people to read them, and they're awesome. They're difficult, but they give you a world where you have a real... Let me put it this way. You've got a real person who's grown up in a very dangerous world. They learn to behead people at a young age. They learn black magic. They learn infiltration skills. They could be infiltrating at like 16 and 17 years old. They're going in and murdering other people. And then you've got these people climbing through castles using ancient magic, using hand grenades, knives and grappling hooks, getting into the enemy with chainmail on, and then getting out after burning a castle down. You're like, can it get any cooler than that? Yeah. But because they're not wearing masks, everybody switch off.
Stuff that you can still do illegally, today.
Yeah, you can do that anywhere you want, but you might get arrested. But it gives you a better image than the fantasy image. That's what my point. You don't have to be in love with the fantasy image.
And they look the way you make them sound like badass warriors. You know what I mean?
Oh, they were proper.
Yeah.
For example, let me give you one. When you want to move into a different province, so you have to go through checkpoints. What you do is you take 10 ninjas in with you. They disguise themselves as monks. And they go to another village, and they'll find a straggler on the village and kill him. Just murder an innocent person. And then they'll say he's one of the 10 and bring his body back to him and say, yeah, one of us died or was killed on the road. And the other person stays behind and then works as an enemy agent, infiltrating like that. There's all sorts of really, dark and mysterious things in the world.
So tell me, what book should I get? Go ahead, man. Give us a list, because I'm going to start reading up on this now.
Right, for those people then, let me start with, for those people, if you just at the basics and you're like, wow, okay, I'm totally confused, you want to try Samurai and Ninja. I wrote this later on because I had the same issue. People were asking the same question over and over again, so I thought, right, let's put it in there. That gives you everything you need to know about Samurai and Ninja, what they did, who they were. Okay. Then I would suggest, realistically, obviously, I won't go through all of them, but I suggest realistically, if you want to read a real ninja manual, you want to get Book of the Ninja.
Okay.
Because that is the Bible. Look how thick it is. That is the Bible of ninjutsu, it's called. So, that will take you from A to Z of ninja. Huh. If you don't want to go for such a thick book, you want to get this now, you'll have to get the spelling of this. This is Iga and Koka Ninja Skills. This was written by a man called Chikamatsu, who said, it was in 1718, he said that the ninja skills are being lost. We need to capture these. So he said, I've hidden nothing, I'm just writing it simply.
Wow.
Two more, last two. Basically, if you're an academic there, if there's someone on the other end and you've done university, college degrees, then you want to use In Search of the Ninja. That is much more academic. I go through like the actual proper documentation and a discussion there. And finally, for those guys out there who love samurai, you want to go for the Book of Samurai. That is a translation of a 1600s document where it tells you how to really be a samurai. So it's book one of a series on that, and these documents were used to teach real samurai in the 1600s. Wow. So how to duel, how to basically hold your sword, how to murder someone.
So I'm going to get these books and I'm going to read through them, and then we're going to do another interview, and it's going to be like so in depth, you know what I mean?
No problem, man.
Because I don't know, I got to get into this. I really do. This is amazing stuff.